Welcome everybody with this session on technology. And today we have Chris as our Titan copywriter as a guest, and he's going to talk a lot about copywriting. Hey Chris, how are you doing, my man? You're still muted. Wait a minute. I'm gonna
Oh,
unmute you. Yeah,
always,
now we hear you.
always happens. I'm doing
So
fantastic, man. How about yourself?
cool, cool, cool. Yeah, very good today. Very good. So let's jump right into it. I'm gonna step out. I'm gonna let you take the screen and we can start right ahead with your presentation and your stuff.
Absolutely. So today, what we're gonna cover is how to make every email so interesting that even the non-buyers love you for selling to them. I mean, eventually the hidden part here is that you turn them to buyers over time, of course. But I want to teach you how to make that while spending 1/10 of the time you used to write your emails in the first place. So, but first, let me just tell you something about myself and why you should listen to me in the first place. Judging by my strange name, by strange spelling actually, I'm from North Macedonia, but I live in Barcelona in Spain. For anyone that guesses my age in the chat, I'm gonna give you a 1 hour consultation and we're gonna go direct response all the way. And pretty much what I focus on is the backends. I literally love big backends. And don't be a pervert there. I'm talking about positioning or how I approach it as go testicles positioning, retention boosting upsells to actually increase the retention in your subscription programs, trackable referral systems where you have the internal marketing systems set up so you don't necessarily have to look over for more clients all the time, but they come to you in the first place. And what I really love doing is zero investment windfall profits. Because from all the years I've done this, I've noticed that most businesses do not have total usage of all the assets in their repertoire. Now, I've worked with some pretty big companies, starting from coaches that have sold more than 5 million in books, with agencies that are eight-figure agencies and even in 5,000 companies. But anyways, we're not here to talk about my successes, but today we're here to talk about go testicles positioning in emails. So initially, as this is the first training that we're having in technology. In the future, we're going to dive in deeper into some of these concepts. But today, I'm just going to run you down on this. First, and you might have heard this in the past, but I need to repeat this for the ones that are not implementing it. I have to go on a rant on against designed emails. Then I'm going to reveal to you the most important email mantra you should live by. Afterwards, you're going to discover a stupid simple trick to write your emails at 1/10 of the time that it currently takes you. I know most of you don't even write the emails because it takes too long. Then I'm going to discuss that value is not education. In fact, education is the lowest form of connection you can give to your customers. And I'm going to explain why. Then you're going to discover the 4 types of emails you should start sending today. And one question to literally ask yourself whether, and to know whether the email will get opened or not, plus a trick that I'm going to reveal in there. Then, and actually towards the end, I'm going to analyze a spam, sexy African priest email I got a few months back. I'm sure you're going to love that. And it actually did a few things right, but it did one thing terribly wrong. And most of the businesses do the exact same thing terribly wrong. And then we're going to have a few minutes of Q&A. So you can literally torment me with any questions you have regarding copywriting, especially regarding backend systems. Let's get into it. So thou shall not design, definitely. Because just as designer clothes are, designed emails feel nice. They give you a big ego boost. And eventually, with that ego boost comes the boasting ability to actually show others how cool you are. But when you really think about it, designed emails, the way most people do them, only get them surrounded by not so cool discount shoppers. Why? Well, if you're doing designed emails, chances are you're betting your business on the discount model. Now, what you're going to learn today is how to stop offering discounts to your customers and to actually even increase the prices while having them buy more from your business in the first place. Plus, like, designed emails are really thinking in the first place, because when you see the designed emails, and this is closely related to the third point, most often they just end up in the promotions tab and that's it. Just nothing after that happens, nada. And even worse in spam, because the HTML just gets recognized by Google as some evil code that doesn't look nice in the part of the receiver, even though it's basically honey on your eyes. And you end up in the promotions tab that basically no one opens. Now, the question here is, do you want to look cool or do you want to make some moolah? And which leads me to the second point, really. The email mantra you should live by, because thou shall sell from the very first email. And just forget what your local email guru told you about those funnels and launches that more or less last from Monday to Friday and the selling starts on Wednesday crap. Like, think about this. You have a product, just put yourself in the place of the consumer. You have a product that you love and you read from it from the very first email, but there's no link to buy. So what do you do? Like, are you so certain that that buyer is literally going to go and open every single email after that? Probably not. You got them there. Doesn't mean that you will have them again. So if they want to buy then and there, let them buy then and there. Because literally, if you don't sell in every email, you're doing them a disservice. Yes, you'll say, Chris, there are exceptions. There are some exceptions. For example, holidays and similar stuff that you simply just want to connect with your list, which is totally fine, but that happens a few times a year. Otherwise, in the other 330 days at least, you should be selling. Oh, and I said 330 days. Yeah, you should be emailing every day, and I'm going to tell you how to actually save up the time to email every day, because it's literally the most important thing you're going to do. Now, here's the trick. You shouldn't even write. As a copywriter, I haven't written in a long time. Dictate. Like, literally get out there and dictate when you get the inspiration. And when we cover the types of emails that you should send to your list in the first place, dictating will suit you much better than writing. And why is it better? Well, first, get much more personalized and you can get your voice out there. Plus, the software pretty much does all the writing for you. You just go there, 10, 15 minutes, edit things a bit, send it over. If you read the emails that led you to this training in the first place, you'll notice that I've dictated all of them. And literally one of them was fully dictated. I just did 5 minutes splitting into sections and that was it. So initially, this process might take you 10 to 15 minutes per email, just while you get used to the dictating thing. But afterwards, basically it will be a piece of cake. You can get an app such as author.ai, costs like 12, 13 bucks a month. It literally costs less than a VA. And you'll save hours, dozens of hours every month. And probably, if you're not emailing frequently enough, it will at least double your revenue just by this little investment. I mean, if you use it, obviously. Now, another thing that I touched in the intro is that value is not education. Value is something completely different from education. And most gurus get this wrong. Because, yes, did education work back when some markets were not as saturated? It did. Does it still work? It does. But are there much more powerful methods to approach this, to differentiate yourself, and to actually increase your sales in far less time? There definitely are. And I'm going to give you 8 of them so you know which ones to use. Because, for example, okay, what happened? Okay. Value, what people value most is entertainment. And over here, I'm going to take the age-old example of who makes more, actors or teachers. Like literally, when you give people entertainment, when you let them spend those 5 minutes, 10 minutes reading your copy, simply let them feel good. They don't constantly want to be educated and stuff. Because when you were let's say in high school, and basically your smart ass probably didn't even want to go to class or was constantly bored by what the teachers were saying, and they were clearly educating you on something. But at the same time, you liked watching two movies or any form of entertainment that you personally like. So people like having fun in their free time. And literally with this, if you want to fit in what they're currently doing, you need to give them that fun. And basically over there, you can use rants as well, stories, especially everyday events and stories that more or less you experience. Now, we're kind of getting into personal branding here, but at the same time, whether you run an agency or simply an e-commerce store, you can equally leverage this, if not even better. Because your competition, chances are they're not doing. They're sending the crappy old designed emails that end up in the promotions tab, and etc., etc. And back to the designed emails, you might see these big corporations doing designed emails and stuff. Thing is, they don't succeed. They didn't succeed because of their email marketing and their email game. They succeed in spite of their email marketing. In fact, they're so big that it doesn't really matter what they're sending. It's gonna work in some way anyways. Afterwards, we have jokes. So even like something you think of, you think is funny, share it. And something that I don't have over here, and it's really closely tied to opinions in the first place, is that if you worry about something, it doesn't necessarily have to be completely related to your business. You can connect to totally unrelated things, and I'm going to show you how. Worry about it in your email list. If you're happy about something, be happy about it in your email list. Share your opinions in your email list. Literally, let your opinion list become your daily journal. And it's a great way to even see it that way. If you're journaling every day, pretty much take your journal and kind of go through it, find some ideas there that you think you are literally some people in your audience, doesn't necessarily have to be all, might find appealing, and just test them out. Just write something on them, share your opinions, share your ideas. Which leads me to the abstract stuff. Now, about abstract stuff, it's literally all the concepts, all the ideas that you have in your mind. Share them. No one's going to steal them from you. You probably know that entrepreneurship is hard on itself. So chances are people will not take action if you just share your ideas. You might get invaluable feedback in the first place. And definitely you get a lot of entertainment to those people. Now, another way of value that sounds as not so much value is testimonials. And it means it's basically a certain type of testimonials that I'm going to show you an example of which type of testimonials, because not all testimonials are equal, and not all businesses, in fact, most businesses don't even have a proper testimonial game. So you really need to step up your testimonial game so your testimonials actually sell your stuff. Because this business is the best is not a testimonial. That's a generic crap thing. There are plenty more things that you can share value with. But let's start with this. Everyday events, aka slice of life. Now, I'm not entirely sure where I got this slice of life points or slice of life name for this. I believe it was some of the big email guys like Ben Settle, Daniel Trossel, some of those guys. But what I did here, and this a rather unique post I did a while back that got me a few clients, just even though it didn't have a huge engagement. And how it starts is literally my 3:35 a.m. devil hour story, plus a huge business lesson. That's it. Can this be improved? Absolutely. That's not the point here, though. We'll go over this. Literally, it starts as a story. The rain outside is battering the bedroom windows. You wake up in cold sweat, trying to make sense of what's happening. Chills run down your spine, and you try to find a blanket on the floor. Hear a distant sound. It's pitch dark. You wonder whether you're blind for a moment, only to realize the lights are off. It's time 3:35, the devil's hour. What we're doing here is literally increasing the curiosity bit by bit, which in this case works for my target audience, and it worked. And really, why you're doing that is to pretty much get them to read the whole thing. You're giving them entertainment. You're having them spend a few minutes of their life getting the enjoyment from you. Otherwise, if you just pitch like every other pitcher out there, on Facebook especially, chances are you're not only shitty positioning them, you're in fact not positioning yourself at all. And how you're doing this, so pretty much this post has intentionally 666 words, but what I've done here is pretty much tell the story up to a point, and then you just flip it on its head and connect it to a business lesson. Initially, just to get you in what was happening in the story, it's a story about a fly, literally a fly that was bugging me in the middle of the night, and it continued bugging me for the 10 following days. You can find the full story on my Facebook profile. But what we're doing here is so basically connecting that fly to the reader and stop being that nasty fly. And telling them how they need to provide something that's really amusing to their customers, which really fits the entertainment bit I was preaching to you in a few minutes back. Now, literally, stand up in the easy way to get over this is to actually engage with your customers and provide some actual insight on what they want to hear about, not only value. And over this is even things that don't even want that they want to hear about. And how do you find those? Is literally by testing things bit by bit. And literally sending freebies every day just to get here and to add on to the last point is not insight or value. Everyone does that. You need to give your own schmeck and the whole thing if you want to see better results. Now, literally, here's the CTA, which I absolutely say it's a must in every email you say. You write, and I've done that for 5,000 companies, for plenty of agencies I've worked with, especially in the DTC space, direct to consumer. And it just works. And don't get stuck up on the open rates, because chances are on something like this, the open rates are going to be lower. But the click-through rates are going to be higher. Much, much higher. Which leads me to the second point. Go against the market. Get a bit creative, get crazy. Like literally, when I was writing for this acne brand, a really well performing subject line was eat more fats to end your acne problems. Who says that? The audience that we're targeting clearly knows and is clearly programmed to think that more fats equals less, actually more acne. Pardon me on that. And you might say, like, Chris, but your product works in that way. Well, let me run you on something else. You can think about a way to connect the contrary approach to what you're currently doing. Because only in that way can you really shift the market. And back in the days when the SMA space was really growing and everyone was saying, oh, you must have a niche to actually succeed in this place, I wrote this headline: you don't need a niche. Do this instead. And that was it. Go contrary to what everyone is saying. And then in the email, you can still flip things back and tell them exactly what everyone else is saying, but in a different way. Which will work in your favor. Will you piss some people off? Yes. Will you be polarizing? Yes. Isn't that the point? It is. So literally, you might lose some people, but you will gain far more. Especially you will gain far more attention when you do this. And instead of being a mere follower that does what everyone else does, which is kind of crappy in this, oh, look at what works and just copy it world, you can actually be the one that people copy. And it's not as hard as everyone makes it sound. Because that concept of just look at what works and you'll be successful, just copy it and you'll be successful, most people get wrong. They just copy the actual things. They copy the big picture and then customize it to what you are doing. Just don't plainly copy what others are doing, not necessarily word for word, but literally the content and stuff that rewritten. Just you'll never be more successful than them unless you spend more than them and all that. But chances are you will never be a unique seller in the first place. And going against and getting creative is really, don't only take this for subject lines. For example, right now I'm working on launching a direct mail agency. So really go against the market, find holes that get creative and fill them up. People love hearing about that stuff. And this is a bit more obnoxious on the obnoxious side. And initially this is for a 10K SMMA program, and it worked quite well for booking calls. Want to go on an unexpected adventure journey, young Cobbett. So yeah, there was this joke, Lord of the Rings joke and Hobbit joke running in the community. So use this thing. And a really good subject line that I'm pretty sure worked pretty well is from Billy Jean, from Billy Jean's Marketing. For the ones that don't know him, he's a big email guru. He's a big marketing guru, and he's been in this space basically since Facebook started, I believe. Don't take my word on that, but he's pretty big. A drunk dude trapped me on a boat. You literally have the whole story in the subject line. Doesn't that make you at least a tiny bit curious? And here's a really nice one. I don't know why they don't show up, but over here should be a banana and something like that representing a penis. And basically, I got this email. I found it in spam, and I had to open it. And we're gonna analyze it later. African priest helps white man gain 6 inches. I have no idea who was the sender. I tried replying to Kat who wrote this email, but the email just didn't send. The guys were pretty secretive about what they were doing in the first place. Now, here's the testimonial bits on how to actually ask for proper testimonials. Like, as I was saying, best program does not equal a proper testimonial. Like literally, if you go here, you can see how many things this testimonial covers. And you can only achieve this by asking specific questions, tweak them in a way that to get the responses that you want from your customers. That's really important. Don't just ask some generic shit and expect a magical answer that sells your product. If you need a specific testimonial, and I highly urge you to plan your testimonials before writing anything or working on anything, find the specific testimonials that you need in the first place. Then draft a list of questions. Just don't make it too long. 3 questions to 5-ish is probably the optimal here. And send it to specific customers that you're pretty sure will get your testimonial. And send different questions to different customers to get different responses that you can use in different places. This is really important, and no one pretty much does this. They just ask for generic testimonials. Make it easy for people to leave you a testimonial. Like, really make it easy. Make it stupid simple. And if you totally read this, you will notice how it covers different aspects of the whole info product that we're selling. This is an email though. And yeah, this is pretty much the whole email. Now, here's the magic question that you should ask yourself. And after we're finished, I'll just urge you to go to your promotions tab and scan through it. And ask yourself, if I saw this subject line in the promotions tab, would I still open it? If you say yes, then you can probably send that email with your subject line. If you say no, then I'm sorry, but you need to work on something better. That's it. And one thing that a lot of people overuse that works far better when you use it less, but when you use it in the first place, is that when you put a person's name in the subject line, the open rate can literally go through the roof. I've seen open rates literally 1.5x, even 2x, depending on the list, just by putting their name there. Now, I'm talking about well-maintained lists, not just any list. And actually curated lists. Because if your list is not curated, you're just hurting your sending rate and all that. Probably just clean your list a bit. Just remove all the people that haven't been active in a long time and then get back and work from there. Your list will be smaller, but much more responsive. And optimal usage of this, if you email daily, I'd say you can use it every week or two, totally fine. Just don't overuse it, as I said. And especially before you send your email, right now you know what types of emails to send and all that. Before you press that send button, just ask yourself, is this email actually valuable enough to be worth interrupting someone for? Because you're interrupting people when you send them emails. And just an important reminder that you have 48 hours to get 50% off fails this test. This is a terrible example for an email. Will it work? Yes, probably. Can you do better? Definitely. And how do you do that? By literally shifting your email, what I just explained to you. Story emails, slice of life, rants, opinions, etc., etc. Then at the bottom of the email, you have the CTA that tells them what will happen. Or simply you can tell them what happens afterwards. Or just spin it in a way. Get creative a bit. Get crazy. Don't say that this is too much or that is too much. Nothing is too much in the email game. I mean, unless you start getting to new levels and promote things that are not to be promoted. Now, that is too much. But otherwise, you should be fine if you just go and implement your crazy ideas out there. And you'll probably do much, much better. Another thing is that, oh, here's my favorite email. Now you can see what it was supposed to, what we were supposed to have there. Now, literally, I got it from this address, probably like Germany. So this dude is crazy, but what a secret he discovered. He took his wife to a remote African island, etc., etc. You can read that right now. And thing about this email, as a copywriter, I found it extremely interesting to actually read it. And so I take some cautious steps sometimes. Basically, had my and opened this on tried opening it on Sandbox, and I literally wanted to find where the funnel continues. What happened? I just got to a bloody Alibaba page. Nothing. The story didn't continue. And this is what brings me to the next point, which is make sure when they click the CTA, they are brought exactly where they need to get. And you might say, oh, Chris, but I don't get them to Alibaba. I literally get them to the product page. That's another problem. From emails, if you really want to get the conversion, to maximize the conversions, if you're selling products, get them to a pre-sale page. Make a specific funnel for the product that you are selling in email. Same goes for info products, for coaching services, consultancies, etc., etc. Get them on a funnel. Because think about it, when you get them to a website, just how many people in the first place actually leak out from your website? They just disappear. They don't buy. They click on it and they don't buy. Why? Because they got distracted by some other cool stuff you might have. And yet they don't end up buying anything. Like when you have a specific pre-sale page for anything that you're selling, you're literally keeping them in that ecosystem. You're continuing their journey. And the chances of them buying are much higher. Like literally you can take the product page and just make a simple pre-sale funnel if you're really that lazy, if you don't want to tweak anything. And I can tell you that it will most certainly perform better. Don't have any links that are leaking outside what you're doing. It's just friendly thing that you should do. And another thing, that have your voice everywhere. Like for the Titanology members, you can see how I do that by booking a meetup chat with me. Like literally it's something that I'm currently working on, so only a few reminders are up. But you can read the reminders and how I position them in the first place to have my voice in the writing anywhere that the customer goes. Of course, it also helps to show up. And if you're literally coming to this call and you have this chance as Titanology member, it's a 16-minute call. And I'm going to tell you forward. So 15 minutes, I'll help you find 1 to 2 ways to actually increase your profits without spending a dime or second of your time working on that. And for 1 minute, we'll schedule another call to continue the convo. Of course, if it makes sense for us to continue the convo in the first place. Okay, for this presentation, I might have spoken a bit faster because I wanted to cover all this stuff. So I'd recommend you just go over it all over again. And if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty details and actually make it, especially the email mantras and the email rules, embed that in your mind. And just by using that, you will see a much better response rate and much more sales. Thank you, Stefan. And can we move on to the Q&A?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much for all of this. I think there's much value in that, and especially some good points into that. I would ask you a question about like sending mails every day. I know that a lot of business owners already are getting stressed by they have to put together like an email sequence and they have to come up with a lot of this copy. How would you recommend that they create mails every single day?
That's a really good question. So yeah, and something that let me dive in deeper into it. So from the things that I mentioned in the first place, like the types of emails they should be sending, especially the slice of life emails about what is happening in their life, it's fairly easy to do because when you get your recorder and you actually record the stuff, pretty much have you just export the recording and you edit it stuff. And if you can record it at the moment that it is happening, it will most certainly be charged with emotional response. Carry over to your right. I lost you there for a second. So, basically, record yourself every single day. And the first thing you do in the morning is basically what Chris Architzovsky says. For the ones that you haven't heard of him, he's a big email player. Pay yourself first thing in the morning. Just set out 15 minutes to half an hour initially to edit that recording and send it out to your email list. If you really don't have that time and you're that busy, get a copy editor to do it for you. It's not going to cost you too much. And you're going to have emails constantly.
So basically, you're telling it to do it like on an ad hoc way. And would you then add that to a certain sequence afterwards where new people come into your list that they would get these emails also? Or is that like a one-off thing?
Yeah, so here's the magic. And what you can really leverage is that when you really have these daily emails, especially broadcasts, you can pretty much take the ones that are working the best. And after some time, you have your own automation. Just put them in, make it work. You don't even have to change anything. Just literally put in the sequence in Klaviyo or Active Campaign or whatever you're using, and you have your sequence. And the ones that are not in your sequence, just don't forget that you can reuse them after a few months. The ones that are working great, and even the ones that are not working great. Because I've seen, for example, an email that we wrote months back and it has literally flopped. And yes, everyone gets email flops. Literally, if you're mailing, I'd say just a rule of thumb, only 20%. You should be happy if 20% of your emails get you proper results.
Hmm.
And regardless of how many times you're emailing, it's always the more or less the 80-20 rule. 80% of the emails will not have the best results. And the thing over here is that you take that, you can literally curate emails both from that 20% and from that 80%. And a few months later, you can send the same email with the same subject line, and it might perform incredibly well, which I've literally seen happen, and it's possible. So you can reuse stuff.
Some business owners that I've talked to across a couple of weeks now, they tell me like, yeah, but we don't want to send every day because it feels like we're bugging people. What would you say about that?
That's a that's a really good and common objection that I usually get. So initially, I'm literally gonna say just start. There will always be people that say you email them too much, but you're probably not gonna take that because you probably heard that a million times before me. Maybe from other copywriters, maybe from marketers who told you to email daily. So I'm gonna tell you a different thing. try this approach and try first 2 times to 3 times a week. Then gradually increase to daily. Some followers of yours will tell you that you emailing them too much. They're going to be a small portion of your list, and they'll always be there. But also, most of them won't even unsubscribe, and they might even buy from you. And it often happens. So the thing over here is just get used to that mindset that you should email daily. And if
I think we've lost Chris there.
Yeah, lost you there for a second.
Yeah.
So I was saying when you gradually increase, is the thing is pretty much that you will find your optimal ratio. So for some businesses, it might not be daily emails after all. It might be 3 to 5 times a week. But how will you know what's your optimal ratio if you don't try the whole spectrum?
Yeah, that's true. Testing, getting the feedback, and then just optimizing your own sequence. I got one last question here from Bullet. How do you make writing in someone else's voice sound authentic?
Really good question. So if you're a copywriter and you're literally working with these clients, I'd say just make it sound more authentic every 2 weeks to a month. Get on a call with them and literally prepare some questions or just have them tell what has happened in their life. Just record that session, and depending on how they speak in the first place and whether you feel lazy or you don't feel so lazy, you can literally transcribe the recording and work from there. Or you can literally find some things that they're constantly saying, and everyone has some quirks in their talking that they're in their when they're speaking that they say that you can implement throughout the whole thing. If you really cannot notice these things, I'd say go to urbandictionary.com, search for some ways, literally search for some words that you can change for what they're saying. Of course, you can ask them for their approval previously, for make a list of words and ask for their approval so you don't like hurt their reputation and everything. And then when you write the whole copy, you can just change a few words from with Urban Dictionary words or any odd terms that people are not really using or are using too much in the market, and you instantly have a much more authentic piece. And what I'd like to add here is that whatever voice you're writing, if you can, you definitely should insert some humor there, even in financial markets.
Because it's also serious already anyway, right?
Yeah.
It's
So it really helps the sales and the connection part if you insert some humor. I mean, probably you won't want to do that for funeral services, but for everything else, it will probably work quite well.
Another thing that I do to make sure that the copy that is written for me, for example, is authentic, is by shooting. You say every morning you record whatever you comes up with you. What I do is I create selfie videos. I go out in the morning as well, and I just record myself talking about something that comes up in my mind, and we use that in, like as content, and we create posts from that, and we create copy from that. So I think if you do that, plus also just voice recording, I think that's also a pretty powerful way to create more of that.
That's a genius idea, actually.
Yeah, because you're outside anyway.
Use
If you want
the
to just use video. Thank you, Bullet, for the question for sure. Hope it answered your question.
Thank you, Bullet.
And Chris, your connection seems to get worse and worse, so I guess it's the right time to close this off here, this session. So I want to thank you, Chris, for your value, for your knowledge, and I want to also reach out to the people that are watching this now live and after the event. Go to our community, reach out to us, leave your comments. I'm going to put the link here. So join Titanology.world. That's our online community where we will be hosting a lot of these events in the coming weeks with Chris, more of Chris about copywriting. Other people will come on there as well, talking about mindset, talking about team management, team building, and so on and so on. So there's a lot of stuff going on in Titanology. So go to this link and sign up. It's for free. You can enter the community and start connecting with awesome people like Chris. And yeah, we can make it work. We can grow together as Titans. So thanks
again.
Thank
you for having me.
No problem.
Oh, sorry for that. Sorry for interrupting you. I guess there's a bit of lag.
Yeah. We will see each other soon, Chris. We will be talking more about copywriting for sure. And until then, thank you, everybody. Keep growing as a Titan. And until next time, see you. Bye-bye.
See you.